In today's video, we are experimenting with tattoo ink, what happens when you boil it, and other odd tests.
We have some tattoo ink. I'm not an expert on tattoo ink. I don't have any tattoos. As a result, I've never really had any interaction with tattoo ink. So I wanted to try some things out. So we got a set of it and we're gonna play with it a little bit.
Here's the basic idea. We have tattoo ink. What happens when we boil it? Can we write with it? And what else can be done?
Clearly has something shaky in there to help keep it mixed up. They all have a little safety seal on the top. Break that open. And we're just gonna start investigating this. Now there are probably tons of you out there who
I gave you a tattoo.
Who have tons of experience with tattoo ink. But I'm not one of them, and so to me this stuff is a complete mystery and I'm excited to learn about it. I can tell you right away that it's somewhat thick of a liquid.
That is not what I was expecting. See, it worked. You have a tattoo now.
Fantastic. I mean, it's not like acrylic paint, but it's also not like water. So just to start out, I'm gonna take some of this purple, I'm gonna take this sheet of paper, I'm gonna see what we get if I just squirt it out here a little bit.
So something that I find pretty interesting about tattoo ink is actually made with different types of metals. Titanium dioxide, lead, chromium, nickel, iron oxides. Those are all things that people use to make tattoo ink.
Very, very opaque. Even when I spread it very thin, you can see that it's got very good coverage. Sometimes I'm pretty sure they also have plastic in them. I believe I read the yellow coloring, and this may not be universal for all, and it may be other colors than yellow, but the yellow coloring is actually like an ABS plastic. It's the same kind of plastic that Lego is made from, just in an ultra fine powder. And what I was reading also talked about how because of that, the ones that are made with plastic can't be broken down by a laser if you're trying to do tattoo removal, and so you have to surgically remove them. All right, so what are the things that you think will be most entertaining to try with this stuff?
Well, it is an ink, and we have played with different types of ink in the studio. We've used pen ink, we've used glitter pen ink, we've done cuttlefish ink. I want to know if you can write with this stuff.
I think we've got a fountain pen. We can try that out.
We do. The fountain pens I actually have in the studio aren't correct for dipping the nib in and writing with. They don't have a well in them. They're meant to have little cartridges used, but we should still get a pretty interesting result. So let's try that. First off, this is way too thick. I would say that you can write with it.
Medium results with this type of pen. I would say that the pen is the problem, not the ink.
This is the problem. There's no well in this, so.
And as you were saying, this is a little more viscous than pen ink normally will be, so it's not gonna flow quite the way you'd want it to.
Huh.
Well, it's not the best.
You wrote with a skewer.
I actually think that as a very thin paint, you could do a lot with this stuff because it does have such a strong, rich color. As you were saying, it dries pretty fast. You can see the consistency maybe just a little bit thicker than milk, probably about like cream, I'd say.
And that is just a ridiculous amount of ink right there.
I just want to see if we can make any sort of like bubbles out of this, so I'm going to add a little bit of dish soap. Yeah, I'm also just going to add some bubble soap. This is a bubble soap designed for like touchable bubbles, so it's extra thick. You can see it's got almost like corn syrup consistency. Often when we have done stuff with dyes or inks, people have said to try and mix it with bubble soap to see if you can get colored bubbles. That's why we're trying this out. I don't have high hopes for it, but we're gonna give it a shot. Most of the time, there are two reasons that it doesn't work. You can't get enough soap in it for it to still have the right consistency to blow bubbles. And two is if you do get a successful bubble, they're so thin, so very thin of a film that even if there is a lot of color in it, it just doesn't show up in a bubble. The surface of the bubble doesn't really allow for any light to bounce off of it. It just mostly goes right through it. And so you can't really get much color in bubbles in our experience so far. Much, much thinner. Ooh, for like a second, that actually held a shape. It left the wand.
So Nate has been trying to use a touchable bubble solution to make this work. I have just a regular Super Miracle Bubbles.
Also, I added soap to my ink, whereas you mostly added just a little bit of ink to your soap.
That is true.
We've got differing strategies here.
No!
That's what's
bubble.
left over. That bubble had a lot of color to it.
That was a red bubble.
Those are very colored bubbles. That also like hold a lot of bubble solution on the bottom of them. After discovering that we can make colored bubbles, there is something we think we're gonna try. We have our friendly little whale-shaped bubble machine.
Whoa.
So yeah, let's just try taking one of these and pouring it in, but we're gonna do this outside on the grass.
He doesn't even want me holding it because he's worried I'll turn it on.
All right, Phil, you chill right here. You know, it actually kind of works, it just looks like a tongue.
It does. If
right.
it were the red, it might be worse.
All right, these aren't great
You
bubbles.
got that one. That one is a pink
we've had
bubble.
one function. Oh, there's a couple more.
Yeah! Pink bubbles!
Not a lot.
I caught him. I'm sorry. This is the coolest thing we've ever done.
Oh, they're attacking me.
They are.
Every one that comes up, like it has a film over it, so it seems like it should work. So I don't know what makes the difference between it functioning and not functioning. But we are making pink bubbles.
And I'm catching them all over my gloves and self.
Yes, and they continue to be heavy and just kind of fall.
But still, these are pink bubbles. We have made pink bubbles.
All right, now we want to try boiling it, but we don't want to do it inside because we're not sure what's going to happen yet, and we don't want to fill the house with fumes from tattoo ink, whatever those fumes may be. So we're going to use our electric stove. We're going to take it outside. We're going to throw a whole lot of these inks into this pot at the same time and turn up the heat and see what it does to it. All right, so we're just emptying. All right, let's add some heat. Now let's give that a few minutes and see what it starts doing. Where it's starting to bubble and boil on the sides, it's kind of rolling up the edge of the pan, pushing everything more in toward the middle. And it's definitely mixing a lot, which is what we expected to see. It's what's always gonna happen when you get things to a nice boil. Some of those colors are pretty, like this right here, this gradient from like green, like turquoise, green, orange, pink, purple. Like it's blended together pretty well. And it doesn't just look mixed and muddled necessarily. Ooh, that smell.
Now it smells like Home Depot.
I was thinking it smells like acrylic paint, but really, really intense. Before it was kind of a very weak, now it's a very strong. Now it's boiling kind of everywhere, not just on the edges. We've pretty much lost our individual colors. Just a little bit of the film that formed on top is still there. But other than that, it's a pretty purpley grayish brown color. I think this is pretty much finished. We can take this off the heat.
Oh,
take a look at it.
My goodness.
There may be still some liquid. Yeah, there is still some liquid under the film, but very little.
Very small controlled version of what we did with spray paint.
Look at this. There's the colors.
Yeah.
They're still down there. They just burned on without mixing. We might actually be able to save this pot too. Look at that. It comes right off kind of.
So for how high a content of pigment this is, I'm shocked at how well it cleans up. It's not like it's supposed to necessarily stain because it does go under a layer of skin, but still, I would have thought it would be a little bit more permanent.
Works pretty well for drawing. I suspect you could do some great painting jobs with it. I don't know what the texture would be like over time, how it would degrade if it's not under skin kind of thing, but it does have some of the strongest pigmentation of any sort of ink hint I've ever seen.
But
very
it's incredibly water soluble.
Washes off pretty well,
Yep.
especially with just a tiny bit of soap kind of thing. So yeah, not ultra permanent for a lot of situations, but it's got a lot of color. The bubbles was really cool. I did not think that was gonna work. It's the first time, that was.
We've tried to make colored bubbles in the past and we've used multiple containers of food color dye.
So much food coloring, we barely got a result. This worked much better.
A couple of drops and it's like, and that's a colored bubble. Not even a problem.
And you know, throwing in the little whale was fun. It didn't bubble every time, but we got quite a few bubbles and they were definitely carrying color. So we may have to revisit that one with more whales and more colors at some point.
Whales. I am bizarrely thrilled about that.
I think I missed.
About that. He's chasing bubbles. Guys, this was a lot of fun, but you know, we've always got more for you to see. Hit that box up at the top for our most recent video, and we'll see you in the next one. Talk to you then.